So we'll dedicate our session to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of ISKCON. Then I will seek blessings from His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj and His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So we are on chapter 7. This is Bhakti Yoga section, in which 7th chapter is knowledge of the absolute, 8th is attaining the supreme, 9th is most confidential knowledge, 10th opulence of the absolute, 11th universal form, and 12th devotional service. Knowledge of the absolute. This has 5 sections. We have already covered the first 3 sections, and today we will be covering the last 2 sections. From verse number 20 to 25, it's about demigod worship and impersonalism, and verse number 26 to 30 is from delusion by Maya to devotion to Krishna. So this will be the last session of this chapter. A short, quick revision. Last time we discussed this verse that Krishna says to get out of this material world, what we have to do? We have to surrender unto him. And if we surrender, then we can easily cross the ocean of material existence. Krishna will pull us up from this material existence. So, though that this divine energy of Krishna, this material energy is very powerful, it's very difficult to overcome, but through surrender unto Krishna, we can easily cross it. Then we discuss about 4 types of miscreants, who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and atheistic nature of demons. We discussed this in great detail last time. So these type of people never surrender to Krishna because of the atheistic tendencies. They are envious of Krishna. They always speak against Krishna. And then 4 types of sukritnas, or pious people, who will surrender to Krishna. They are sakam bhaktas, in a sense that when they are distressed, they desire wealth, or they are inquisitive, they want to know something beyond this material world, they approach Krishna. But since they are approaching Krishna, they are called as sakam bhaktas. And a 4th kind of bhakta is a gyan mishra bhakta, who doesn't desire anything, but he has knowledge about Krishna, and he surrenders to Krishna due to that knowledge. So he's a gyan mishra bhakta. But Krishna says, okay, all these devotees also will come to me, but it will take many lifetimes. So in this chapter, there were 2 verses which were discussing the rarity of pure devotee. One was Manushanam Saheshishu, and this one Bahunam Janmamante. So Krishna is saying, these devotees who surrender unto me for some benefits, okay, they have to come to a level of Gyan first, and then when they become Gyanvan, then they will surrender unto me. But it will take many lifetimes. It depends on the surrender. How much we are surrender, quickly it will happen. And there are very rare people, the pure devotees, who know Vasudev as like Vasudev is everything. Such a Mahatma is very durlabha. Who knows Krishna Tatvata. Such a person is very rare. So these 2 verses spoke about rarity of pure devotee. So now the question arises, these people were approaching Krishna. They were surrendered unto Krishna. So Arjuna may ask that there are so many people in the world who doesn't want to surrender unto Krishna. They want to surrender unto something else. So what about them? So this section now discusses about demigod worship and impersonalism. If worshipping, any questions from the last section?
One quick question, Mataji. You
Yes.
mentioned that because of our free will, we are going to take birth in this material world. And you're explaining the verse number 7.14. Can you just explain a little more on that?
Yes.
Is
Actually,
it because,
actually, we all are, we know eternal path and passage of Krishna. We were there in that Krishna Loka with Krishna. But some desire we developed to enjoy separate from Krishna. Due to that desire, Krishna says, okay, you want to enjoy separate from me. He created a facility, that is the material world. You go into this material world and try to fulfill your desires separate from me. So now in this material world, Krishna has given us a free will to choose. What free will to choose? Always we have to choose between Maya and surrender to Krishna. There are so many challenges in our life. that Maya tempts us always. So we are after the temptations. When the temptation gets fulfilled, we are happy. When the temptation is not fulfilled, we are lamenting. So we are always they're up and down between lamentation and happiness because of our free will. So if like this Maya Devi is doing the job of a jailer. So she sees that when we are independent, like we are free of this material contamination, this material lust, then only she allows us to enter into the kingdom of Krishna. Until and unless we are free of material contamination, we keep choosing Maya in place of Krishna. We will be always in this place. Krishna doesn't want us to be like robot. He has given us a minute independence. That minute independence to choose. If that independence was not there, then there's no meaning of Krishna being reciprocating with us. So he wants us to give that free will so that we can reciprocate according to our love and surrender. If Krishna sees that we are sincere, he will reciprocate accordingly. Like ye yatha mam prapadanti. So Krishna always gives us that free will. So
yeah, even to take birth, that free will is applicable.
Yes, we only desire, Jiva desired.
Where to take birth?
In the material world.
Yeah.
We desired to enjoy separately. So Krishna said, okay.
See, desiring is in our hand.
No, that is correct, Prabhuji. Even after you go to the highest abode, still
Even there,
okay.
their independence would be there with us.
Okay.
And we can choose.
One more thing. I was hearing Chaitanya Prabhu lecture. He was saying that once we come to this material world and then we decide, like we surrender to Krishna, we become a pure devotee, and then we go back. Then Krishna says, Janma karma mecha divyam, evameveti tattvata, tyakta diyam punajanna, niti mamiti swarjuna. You will never come to this material world. So how will that happen? Question will be there that we can still desire after going to the eternal world to come back. But Prabhuji said that once we have tasted the material world, the miseries of this material world, then when we go back, we will be reminded of that. The moment the desire comes to enjoy separate from Krishna, we will be remembering that miseries we suffered in the material world. And it's not like always we will be remembering. We will be like doing all our activities in the spiritual world, service and everything. But the moment we desire to enjoy separate, that thing will come in our mind. And that's why we will never choose again due to our free will to come back to Krishna. We will then eternally remain in the spiritual world. So once we come and we surrender fully, then we will never come back. That's why we say pure devotees never come back to this material world.
Okay, thank you, Mataji.
So now, if worshipping Krishna makes the Sakam Bhakta successful in this way, what happens if they worship the Devatas to remove their distress or fulfill their desires? Krishna will explain this in the next 4 verses. So we will be doing verses number 20 to 23, which speaks about demigod worship. Somebody will like to recite this shloka?
Kamaistau Kritajnana Prapadyante Devataha Tam Niyamamastaya Prakrutya Niyata Swaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures.
Thank you, Rajesh. So, kames taster hit jnana. Hit jnana matlab whose intelligence has been stolen. Those people whose intelligence has been stolen, they go to demigods to fulfill their material desires. See, we have so many desires, and we know that this demigod worship is so rampant all over. Okay, people approach demigods for various things, like it is said in the scriptures. If somebody is diseased, he has to approach sun god. If somebody wants sense gratification, he has to approach moon god. If somebody wants knowledge, Saraswati Devi is there. If somebody wants a beautiful wife, Uma Devi is there. So different demigods have been given various powers to fulfill the desires of the living entities. And it has been mentioned in the Vedas. These people who are doing demigod worship, they are actually acting according to the scriptures, because why these scriptures are talking about demigod worship, why it has been mentioned. It was mentioned there because Krishna wanted to elevate us from doing sinful activities. He told, okay, at least don't do sinful activities. Do demigod worship. Rise above the mode of ignorance. At least do like this worship in higher modes. So that's why demigod worship is mentioned in the Vedas. But most of the people who do demigod worship, they don't know the purpose behind that. The main purpose by demigod worship is mentioned in the Vedas is that after doing a proper demigod worship, in a proper mood, we can elevate ourselves. We can rise behind that demigod worship, and slowly we can surrender unto Krishna. That was the purpose of demigod worship. These people, what they do, they will do various follow various rules and regulations of their demigod worship. They will do some fastings also, like people do fastings on Navratris and all. Okay, they will do Ganesh Visarjan and all these things. They do according to rules and regulations sometimes. But it is said that even if we do according to rules and regulation, it will lead to slow elevation and purification. But nowadays, what happens? Even this demigod worship is done for like sense gratification or for some entertainment, for some satisfaction, just engagements. Okay, there's nothing to do. We will follow this worship. We will follow this worship. Ganesh Chaturthi is coming. We'll do this just to engage themselves. They are not so devoted to that particular demigod also. Okay, they will play filmy songs in the Ganesh Visarjan, and in Navratras, people will wait because they want to do Dandiya dance. So the purpose has been diluted so much nowadays. So even that demigod worship is not like done according to rules and regulations which are mentioned in the Vedas. And people, they worship different demigods because they have different natures. It is said that those people who are in the mode of ignorance, they approach Shivji. Those who are in the mode of passion, they will approach Brahmaji. And only those people who are situated in the mode of goodness will approach Vishnu. And those who are in transcendental goodness, they will definitely surrender to Krishna. So according to mode which they have gotten from their previous impressions in their lives, they worship various demigods. And to satisfy their material desires, they want immediate fulfillment of their desires. Okay, that's why they approach these demigods, because they know that demigods will fulfill their desires immediately. And if they approach Krishna, Krishna will first purify them, and then he might fulfill their desires. So they think that these demigods are more powerful in fulfilling their particular desires than Krishna. And that's why they approach Krishna. But Krishna says these people's intelligence has been stolen. So this is the first slide. Now we'll move to the second slide. Now Krishna is saying that I give the faith and results to these demigod worshippers. 7.21 and 7.21. Will somebody read this?
I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actually, these benefits are bestowed by me alone.
Thank you, Ramaji. Now Krishna is saying, okay, we chose to worship a particular demigod. Okay, so many people, they want to worship demigods. Krishna is saying, okay, if you want to worship some demigod, he makes our faith steady in that particular demigod. Krishna says, because I am sitting as super soul in everyone's heart, he knows our desires. If you want to worship a particular demigod, he says, okay, go and worship. And he's sitting in the heart of that demigod also. So he will direct the demigod to fulfill the desire of that living entity. So this way, Krishna is saying that faith to worship that demigod also comes from me. Now somebody may say that why Krishna is giving that faith, why he is giving faith in demigod worship? Because Krishna, again, doesn't want us to be like robot. Okay. Krishna wants to give us free will. We have a minute independence. And that's why Krishna says, you yourself choose it, what you want to do. If you want to do demigod worship, okay, well, do it. But I am at the same time giving you instructions in Gita. And what is Krishna's ultimate instruction in Gita? 18.66. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. So Krishna is saying that you have to surrender all religions and come to me. So I'm giving you all instructions, but still, due to free will, if you want to choose, okay, I will make your faith steady in that, worshipping that particular deity and obtain the desired results. So again, the question of free will comes here. That's why Krishna says, okay, worship a particular deity. Now, Krishna says that if we are endowed with such a faith, we'll worship a particular demigod and then obtain our desires. But we know that the result of these desires will be temporary, because demigods themselves are temporary. Krishna says these benefits also are bestowed by me alone, because Krishna is the cause of the power of the demigods. All power, everything comes from Krishna. So even the power of the demigods is also coming from Krishna. So if demigods are able to fulfill the desires or boons of various living entities, that power comes from Krishna. These demigods doesn't have any independent power. We have already discussed this example that there is a prime minister, and in his ministry, so many ministers are there. These ministers have their different powers, but that power can be taken or it can be increased by prime minister anytime. He can take it. These demigods are like posts. So these are like posts, and they can be taken away by Krishna any time.
When we will study Bhagavatam and when we will talk about different manvantaras, you will see that in each manvantara, the position of Indra will be taken by, different people.
So that way, they will keep changing, because these positions, this power, we living entities, demigods, all are temporary. At the time of unmanifestation, when Krishna winds up this material world and everything enters Mahavishnu, these demigods will also enter into Mahavishnu. So the boons they provide will also be temporary. They cannot be eternal. So living entities, out of foolishness, they don't know this, because they don't know Krishna as the source behind the power of these demigods. So that's why we fail in understanding, and we keep worshipping these demigods. Anybody like to read the?
I will recite, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedhasam devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mam api. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet.
Thank you, Shankarji. So again, Krishna is saying these people as men of small intelligence who have lost their intelligence. They are worshipping demigods. Because they don't know that whatever wounds they will get, they will be limited and temporary. And even they don't have the power. Like example, Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu asked a boon that he may not, he will never die. But Brahmaji said, I cannot give you that boon. You ask something else from me. So they don't have that ultimate power. So that way. And sometimes the boons given by these demigods cause a problem to Krishna. He has to come to solve them. As in the example of Vrittasura. Shivji gave him the boon that whoever had his touch, that will like burn into ashes. And then Krishna has to come take avatar to rectify that boon.
Even for Hiranyakashipu, when Hiranyakashipu asked this boon from Brahmaji that I should not die, and then Brahmaji gave all other boons, who had to come?
Narasimha.
Right? So you know what Narasimha, after killing Hiranyakashipu, what did he say to this Brahmaji? That Brahmaji,
I think he would have said, be reasonable in giving such things, and you are troubling me.
He said, why do you give these things indiscriminately, and then I have to come here and solve you the problem? So better think twice before giving anything.
And similarly in Bhagavatam, every demigod ultimately realize that you are supreme, like Brahma Vimohan Leela. In Brahma Vimohan Leela, what happened? Brahmaji got bewildered. He thought that he cannot be Krishna, he's eating jhuta of his friends. So he stole those cowherd boys. And ultimately, he realized that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can expand himself into so many Vishnu forms. So, and Indra Bhagwan also in Govardhan Leela. So there are so many examples of like powers of demigods are nothing in front of Krishna. So, and their boons will always be temporary. They cannot be permanent. They cannot be eternal results. Okay. If these demigods are worshipped with proper mood, okay, with proper understanding, then the result can be eternal. And what is that proper understanding? That proper understanding is that demigods are part and parcel of Krishna. They are servants of Krishna. They are devotees of Krishna. And in that mood, if we are worshipping these demigods, as for Shivji it is said, Vaishnava Yada Sangha. If we move Shivji in that mood, then the result can be eternal.
The problem is not in demigods. The problem is with us.
Our consciousness. With what consciousness we are worshipping these demigods. So like in Bhagavatam, these gopis, they did Katyani Vrata, Katyani Devi Vrata. But for what they did that Katyani Vrata? To get Krishna as their husband. They did it for Krishna. So if we are doing any demigods worship, then we have to keep Krishna in the center. Then the demigod worship will also give the same results as worship of Krishna. Until unless we do that, we cannot get the permanent results. If we worship demigod, we will go to the planet of the demigod. And we know from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, yes, each demigod has his own planet. Indra has Indra planet, Brahmalok, Brahmaji has Brahmalok. So if we worship these demigods, we will go up to that planet. We cannot go beyond that. And these planets are also temporary. These planets are not permanent. Okay, they will be ended with as soon as the material manifestation ends. And once our pious activities are full, they finished, we have to come back to this material world again. So there will be no eternal results. But Krishna is saying, if my pure devotees who are worshipping me without any desires. In Bhagavatam, it is said, even if somebody has desires, even if somebody has this desire of liberation, akamo sarva kamo va, moksha kama udaradi, trivena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. In Bhagavatam, it is said that with desires, without desires for liberation, go to Krishna. By doing devotional service, everything will be solved. So pure devotees never aspire for anything, not even for liberation. But it is said that we need not approach these demigods. We have to approach Krishna in any case. These demigods are like we have told that we have to water the root of the tree. If we water the leaves of the tree, then the tree will not get nourishment. Similarly, we have discussed the example of stomach. We have to supply food to the stomach. Only then it will nourish our body. We cannot give food individually to ears, nose, eyes, and all. That will not solve the problem. Similarly, these demigods are definitely parts and parcel of Krishna, but they cannot be worshipped separately. It will not give the same results. Because some people think that, okay, if they are part and parcel of Krishna, then if we are worshipping demigods, then also the result should be same. But how it can be same? If we are taking a train to Bombay, we will reach Bombay only. We cannot go to Delhi. Similarly, by demigod worship, we cannot reach the Supreme Lord. So that is the message in these 4 shlokas. It's like strongly speaking about demigod worship, these 4 shlokas in the Bhagavatam. So if somebody, like you're preaching, you can preach that you don't say them, don't worship demigods. You can ask them to change their mood of worship. So by citing these 4 verses, we can preach nicely about demigod
There should be correct mood, correct understanding.
Okay. So any questions in this section about demigod worship? Okay. So the next 2 slokas speak about, okay, this is little revision of the demigod worship. We have already covered this. Okay. Now the section comes for impersonalist. Those who think that ultimate absolute truth is impersonal, devoid of any form, attributes, and that is temporarily takes a personal form as Krishna. They consider form and activities of Krishna to be illusionary, Maya, and hence they are called Mayavadis. So this verses number 24 to 25 speaks about those persons who are surrendering unto impersonal aspect of absolute truth. They are impersonalist. This is the verse number 24. These impersonalists are unintelligent. Somebody would like to recite this verse?
Yeah, I
will recite. Sir, go ahead.
Avyaktam vyaktim apanam vanyante mam abuddhaya param bhavam ajananto mamavyayam anuttamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and now have assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme.
Thank you, Harshita. Okay. Now, for demigod worshipper, Krishna used the word less intelligent, alpamedisa. For impersonalists, who is using the word unintelligent, they are abuddhaya. They don't have any intelligence at all. What they think? They think that Krishna was impersonal before and now he has assumed this form. This form is material. They don't believe in the eternal blissful form of Krishna because they have men of small knowledge. They do not know Krishna. They do not Krishna as imperishable and supreme. They do not know as Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like once what happened, like some three Vedis and Dvedis and Chaturvedis came to Prabhupada and they told that we have studied 3 Vedas, I am studied 4 Vedas and I have so much of knowledge about Vedas. So Prabhupada said, okay, then tell me who is Krishna. They told that Prabhupada, you have asked such a difficult question. This cannot be explained. Like we have to sit for so long to explain this. And Prabhupada called a Gurukul boy and he asked that Gurukul boy, tell me who is Krishna. And the Gurukul boy said, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even after studying these Vedas, they will interpret these Vedas in their own. They will They will do mental speculation. They will try to understand Vedas through their own endeavor. But it doesn't work like that, because what happened? They start focusing more about the impersonal aspect of Krishna, and which is not true. Okay, impersonal aspect is the beginning of transcendentalism. It is like partial realization. When we take Krishna as like his Brahman effulgence. But what happens? These Brahmavadis are stuck up to that level only. They don't want to go beyond that. They think Krishna as impersonal. And what about Mayavadis? These Brahmavadis and Mayavadis, there's little difference. Brahmavadis are a person who focus on Brahman because they don't have any attraction towards the personal form, or they have no knowledge about personal form. But at least these people will not offend. They will not try to decrease the position of Krishna. And Mayavadis, what do they say? Mayavadis say, okay, Krishna's form is Maya. He is a material form like us. He is just a living entity who has more powers. They don't consider Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And at the same time, they say that Brahman is all in all. That is the final version. They make it upside down, which is lowest, they make it highest. And they don't believe in the personal form of Krishna. And in 9th chapter also, Krishna will say this thing again, that avjananti mam muda manushim tam ashritam. These people, they do not know when I appear in this material world. They will consider my form as material. In 9.11, he will say again. So this is like the people who are surrendering to the impersonal aspect, but this is incomplete and partial relation of Krishna. It is not perfect relation of Krishna. Now Krishna says, I reserve the right of revealing myself. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavrita mudo ayam na vijanati loko mam ajam avayam. Nayam prakasha sarvasya. I am not manifest to everyone always. Yoga maya samavrita. I am covered by my internal potency. Mudo ayam na vijanati. Therefore the foolish do not know that I am unborn and infallible. Now, Krishna is saying why these people are not able to understand me? Because I reserve the right of revealing myself. I do not manifest myself to everyone. Krishna will reveal himself only unto pure devotees. The devotees who are following the principle of devotional service, they are they have no other desire other than service of Krishna. Okay, so it depends upon the surrender. If we are surrendering, then Krishna gives us buddhi, the dami buddhi yogantam, and he becomes manifest to us. We are able to see Krishna. Until and unless we are free of this material contamination, Krishna will not manifest to us. We have like discussed this example of sun, cloud, and observer in the last class. Like sun is like Krishna. Okay, cloud is like Maya, and we are the observer. So this cloud of Maya is covering our vision of the sun. We are not able to see the sun. Sun is always there, but the cloud of Maya is not allowing us to see Krishna. And that's why foolish people are never able to know about Krishna. Even when Krishna was present on this earth, example Shishupal and this Duryodhan, they used to like blaspheme Krishna. They were not recognizing as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only the devotees like Pandavas and Bhishma Dev, they knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because even though when Krishna is present, we cannot see him because of our imperfect senses. We need to have the eyes to see Krishna. That's why Krishna says, I am not manifest to everyone. We have to qualify to see Krishna. And now, little difference between like here, the confusion is Yog Maya word, why it is used. Okay, Yog Maya we have discussed is the Maya which Krishna covers the devotees like Yashoda Mai and all, so that he can enhance the rasa of the Leela. Okay, for Leela, he covers the devotees with Yog Maya potency, and he doesn't allow them to know that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So yeah, here in Bhagavad Gita, this Yog Maya is referring to general Maya. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita is not giving us the difference between Mahamaya and Yog Maya. That is in Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, we'll come to know more about this difference. But here as a generic term, he is using Maya as a covering. That's all. That's why this Yog Maya word has been used. In Bhagavad Gita, we don't discuss much difference between Yog Maya and Mahamaya. Here it is referring to just a covering.
Mataji, one question.
Yes,
I know Krishna Avatar is Purna Avatar. Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in any incarnation, any divine incarnation, we see such kind of people. Neither Krishna, the Lord will not manifest deliberately, nor they don't want to understand that. Like in Rama Avatar also, there are similar kind of people, right? Like Shishupala and Duryodhana in this Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Is it not the divine plan that they should not understand him? And
yes, definitely.
There is a purpose behind that.
Yes, there is a purpose behind that. Because Krishna's purpose is Yadadai Dharmasya. So, for every Leela, whether it is related to demons or devotees, there is a purpose behind that. Okay, if Krishna reveals himself, if everybody comes to know that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then there will be no demons and no devotees. Then there will be no purpose of that Leela also. So behind everything, there is a supreme will. Nothing happens without the will of the Lord. We said nothing, not even a blade of grass moves without the permission of Krishna. So even this is a divine plan behind Krishna, these Leelas that we are not able to know even when Krishna is present in front of us. Example in so many examples in Ramayana as well as in Mahabharata.
Yesterday, I was reading about sufferings that, you know, as a devotee, as practitioners, you know, when something good happens, you know, even though we are practitioners, we call ourselves devotees, we think, oh, I did this, that's why this has happened, right? And when suffering comes, you know, we also tend to get lost, you know, why did it happen? And we, although when good thing happens, we claim, you know, to be the cause.
Yes.
But when bad things happen, we try to find the most immediate cause, maybe someone else around us.
I think 5.14, 5.15 should be remembered. Contemplate.
So, yeah. So basically, the understanding is that when something good happens to us, yes, Krishna is the cause. Sarva Karana Karana. And when we are suffering, he is also again the cause, right? How is he the cause? Because he is orchestrating according to what we did. So so everything works according to his divine plan. But also 4.11. What is 4.11? Right. As you approach him, and also every action has its equal and opposite reaction. So if you do, he says, if you do karma, you will face. If you do akarma, or vikarma. So divine plan is there. Undoubtedly, divine plan is there, and he has to act accordingly. However, whatever we are doing, whatever we want, everything works accordingly. Undoubtedly, whatever happens, there is a divine plan, that everything is working as per his rules and regulations. And that is why he says that because he's behind all these things, it is his divine plan. That is why if someone, 7.14, if someone wants to surrender onto him, then, he will open all the gates so that we can just reach out to him. Right? It is like a veto power. So, yeah, people who don't want to understand, he will put a curtain, he will put a cloud in front of them. You cannot see. It's not that other people cannot see, or it is not that sun cannot see. It is just we cannot see the real picture because we don't want to. And then the divine plan will come in place. Yes, if you don't want, that's fine.
We choose our free will and the consequences happen.
But it is not that he's making us a robot in his divine plan. That should be clear.
Yes. But for some, the question is like, see, Duryodhana never realized even once. That must be definitely divine plan, right? His free will never thought that Krishna, at least a person,
when
1%.
you are saying divine plan, what does this mean? I hope you are not meaning that Krishna is doing that, right? Divine plan is there, but it is Krishna who chose not to accept that.
That is what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So yes, that is there. It is, if you don't accept, then what he can do? Yes, there will be a number of reasons for the way Duryodhana had a number of reasons, Shishupal had a number of reasons, right? Dantavakra has a number of reasons, Jarasandha had a number of reasons. So yes, there are so many people we see, right? They will have a number of reasons not to accept spirituality. It's like,
Is that not called Yogamaya? Saying
for them, yes. So for them, yes, it is called Maya, right?
Maya.
So as Madhvi Radhika ji explained, right? So in a pure, literally terms of spiritual science, there is a difference between Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. But for now, we understand it, yes. Then Krishna, the way Krishna just told, right, in 7.24, that I cover them, right? So Krishna covers them with his Maya. Until and unless, and under that Maya, you will feel all good. No, I don't want. That's fine. Okay. But when you decide, you understand that no, now I have suffered a lot, and I understand clearly that it is just Krishna, Sarv Dharman Parityaje Mam Ekam. Then when we understand this, when we surrender onto him, then he says, Maya Mekam Tarantite. Then yes. Until then, yes, we will be under the Maya, covering of Maya.
So this is the last section, from delusion by Maya to devotion to Krishna. So Krishna talk about liberation, like Mam Prapadante Maya Mitam Tarantite. So now he's talking how to do that, how we can change ourselves from delusion to devotion. So these are the last 4 verses. In 26th verse, Krishna is saying something. Anybody wants to recite this verse?
I will recite this. Hare Krishna. Veda ham samititani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kashana. I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, O Arjuna, and all things in the future. I also know all living entities, but no one knows me.
Thank you, Ashok. So in this, Krishna is saying, I am the knower of everything. That, like that, he said, I am the basis of everything in this chapter itself. So I know everything. He's all knower. Everything what happened in the past, all in the present, and all in the future. Can we claim that? Nobody can claim that he knows everything. Only Krishna know everything about future, present, and past. Now, somebody may say that if Krishna knows the future, then why can't he change the future? No, he again wants to give us a free will. We will choose, and accordingly we will face the consequences. He doesn't want us to make robot. He knew the future of war, what will happen in the end, who will win, who will die. He knew that Abhimanyu would die. He could change that, but no, he had a plan behind that. So he wants us to choose and face the consequences. That's why even if he know the future, he will not reveal them. And sometimes to increase the rasa of his pastimes also. He knows that this will happen in this Leela, I will kill this, I will kill that. But he's playing the pastime in that particular role. So he will act accordingly, even if he knows the future. So that's why Krishna is knower of everything. But Krishna is saying, nobody knows me. Why nobody knows me? Again, we have discussed only that person who surrenders unto Krishna, who is a pure devotee of Krishna, can know Krishna. Krishna cannot be known by our endeavors, by n number of Veda studies. We can be a scholar in Veda study. We cannot know Krishna by mental speculation. Krishna is only known by love and service. We have discussed this not many times. We'll move to the next slide. Why no one know Krishna's? The answer is in the 27th verse. Because we are deluded. We are deluded. All living entities are born into delusion, some moment at the beginning of creation, and are bewildered by dualities arising from desire and hatred, continuing from previous life. We have so many impressions from our past life, and we have cultivated our own karmas. We desire so many things, we hate so many things. Whatever we like, we desire. Whatever we dislike, we will hate towards it. And the biggest delusion is when we desire to enjoy separate from Krishna. And the biggest hatred is when we are envious of the position of Krishna. We are envious that why Krishna is the only supreme enjoyer. We also want to enjoy. That is the biggest delusion. And that delusion was the reason we came to this material world. And we have discussed about these dualities a lot in the second chapter also. We are always trapped in the dualities of dishonor and honor, feeling of happiness. Sometimes we feel misery, sometimes we feel good, sometimes pleasure, sometimes pain. For example, if I don't want something and I get it, I will feel misery. Like somebody doesn't like bitter gourd sabji, and there is no other choice than to eat it, then we will feel sad and we will feel misery. And if we want something and we don't get it, then also we will feel misery. Like I want to eat gulab jamun, but it's not available, so I will feel sad. So we are trapped in these temptations. If we like something, we want to get this. If we don't get, we will lament. And then again, this cycle of temptation and lamentation keeps going on. And we are trapped in this delusion and dualities. And that's why we are not able to know Krishna. Always it is said we have to go beyond these modes. We have to go beyond these dualities. And then only somebody can know about Krishna. That is the reason. So in the next verse, Krishna answers how to get out of this delusion. We are in delusion. We have to agree. Then only we can get out of this delusion, of this sammoham, of this desires. In this next shloka, Krishna says the solution to this delusion. We have to do determined bhakti. Yesham Antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvand moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridvata. Persons who have acted piously in previous life and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So here, what do you mean by completely eradicated? Sinful reactions are completely eradicated. How they get eradicated? We have discussed about 4 regulative principles. Okay. These 4 regulative principles, in which there is no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. These are sinful activities. That's why acharyas and our scripture says we have to avoid these sinful activities. When we become free from these sinful activities, then only we will be able to act piously. And what is that acting piously? Following devotional principles, doing our sadhana. If we do sadhana diligently, then definitely we will be free from these dualities, because now our bhakti will become determined. We will have nishtha. We will have steadiness in our bhakti. If we keep following these 4 regulative principles at the same time practicing devotional activities. And we have already discussed the example of wood. If wood is wet, it cannot catch fire. Okay, until and unless we are continuing doing our sinful activities, we cannot come to devotional platform. Wood has to become dry first. So dry means we have to eradicate these sinful activities. And once it catches fire, then also we have to be careful that we don't pour water again on the wood. That is, we have to keep steadiness, and we have to be very determined. Then only that fire will always be there, and we will be able to get out of this delusion. So this is the solution, that determined bhakti can only free us from this delusion of Maya. So this is from delusion of Maya to devotion unto Krishna. So practically speaking, this chapter ends on this shloka. The next 2 verses are seed verses for the next chapter, verses number 29 and 30. In this verses, we are talking about 7 things which will be discussed in detail in the 8th chapter, because Arjuna will be asking Krishna about all these terms. Krishna, what do you mean by all these terms? So 8th chapter is mostly about these terms which are in these 2 shlokas. Mokshkami Bhakta. We have discussed about Sakam Bhaktas in this chapter, about Gyan Mishra Bhakta also, and we have mentioned about Yog Mishra Bhakta also. But this Yog Mishra Bhakta will be explained in 8th chapter, especially in verse number 12. But other things, these bhaktas, one more bhakta is mentioned in this verse, which is 29. It's about Mokshkami Bhakta, a bhakta who is approaching Krishna, but his purpose is to get out of this material world. He wants liberation. That's why he's approaching Krishna. He is not still a pure devotee, but because that desire of liberation is in him. Okay, he's approaching Krishna, he's doing bhakti, everything. He's doing devotional service also. But the idea is that he's keeping that liberation factor in his mind and doing bhakti. So these bhaktas are called Mokshkami Bhakta. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge to me in my devotional service. So this is the definition of a Mokshkami Bhakta. Now, Krishna is saying in the next line of this shloka, they are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Adhyatma karma chakilam. Now, this Brahman word is used in this shloka, and it has been talked about that actually we all are Brahman. Why? We are spirit soul. Brahman, aham brahmasmi. We tell like this because yes, really we are spiritual souls. That's why we are Brahman. And the difference between Brahman and Par Brahman will be explained in the next chapter. Who is Par Brahman? Par Brahman is Krishna. He is the supreme Brahman, and we are all Brahman. We are spirit souls. He is the supreme spirit soul. So this difference will be explained, and what is Brahman, what is Par Brahman will be explained in detail in the next chapter, as well as what is Adhyatma. Adhyatma karma is transcendental activities. This also will be explained in the next chapter. And what is Adhyatma? Adhyatma is about self as living entities. So Adhyatma will be explained, karma will be explained, and Brahman will be explained. So these are the 3 things which will be explained in the next chapter. And in the verse number 30th, Krishna is saying, those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation. Adi Bhuta. Of the demigods, Adi Deva. And of all methods of sacrifice, Adi Yagna. Can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So again, here 4 terms have been used. Adi Bhuta. Adi Bhuta, Krishna is using for himself because he is the governing principle behind material manifestation. Then he is Adi Dev because he is the supreme of all the demigods. And he is Adi Yagna. We know that all sacrifices are meant for Vishnu, for Krishna. So he's Adi Yagna. So a person who knows that Krishna is Adi Bhuta, Adi Deva, and Adi Yagna, he is in full consciousness of Krishna, and he will have the same consciousness at the time of death because he has understood Krishna. So if like the message is, if we practice devotional service throughout our life, knowing Krishna to be all in all. Definitely, we will have the same consciousness at the time of death. So for the this Prayan Kale means at the time of death. So Prayan Kale importance will also be discussed in verses number 8.4 and 8.5, where Krishna says, Yamam vapi smaran bhavam, ant kale chamameva. When you remember, whatever you remember at the time of death, you will get that. So these are the 7 terms which will be the beginning of the 8th chapter, and they will be discussed further. Thank you. If any questions, you can ask.
Just one question. So here in 7.29, moksha that is being referred here, it is different from the Brahman effulgence, right? Yeah, when
yes.
people attain
Yes,
Brahman
yes.
effulgence, they may come back. But here in moksha, it is a permanent state and it's
Yes.
a very stable state.
Yes. Moksha means they don't want to come to this material world. They have discovered the futility of this material world. They want to get out of this cycle of birth and death. And impersonal effulgence, they want to merge with Brahman. They want to merge with impersonal conception of God. So there is a difference. And these mokshkami bhaktas are approaching Krishna for that purpose. That's the thing. That's why they are called as mokshkami. So mokshkami bhaktas, sakam bhaktas, yog mishra bhaktas, gyan mishra bhaktas, they have been like explained in this chapter mostly. So it's minute differences, but they are approaching Krishna, they are surrendering to Krishna. But pure devotees are rare who don't have any desire. They want to serve Krishna whether they are in this material world or they are in the spiritual world. They don't even desire for liberation. That's the thing.
So can we take some examples of pure devotees, Mataji? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or there are examples of pure devotees who doesn't want any desire other than.
Prabhupada is there in front of you.
Yes. And
Okay.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
And so many devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were also there.
Okay.
Raghunath Das
Raghunath Das
Goswami,
Goswami.
Sanatan Goswami, Rup Goswami, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, right? Gopal Bhatt Goswami,
And
all these 6.
so many pure devotee stories we will study in Bhagavatam also.
Yeah.
And there it will be
Yes.
more clear that they are devotees exist.
Yeah, I'm asking in this world, the current world. Yeah.
Current world.
Current world. See, Bhagavatam is current world. Like now, currently living.
Yes, yeah. I'm telling that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhupada, these people come under.
See, one thing is we should clearly understand that, see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also not here now, like
Yes.
in Bo Leela.
Kali Yuga, I'm saying.
And you mean to say in Kali Yuga?
Yeah.
Kali Yuga, yeah, all these people are there. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, but he's playing the role of a devotee, that how devotee should live. And there are so many examples, right, of what we just mentioned, 6 Goswamis and all that. Yeah,
They are all Kali Yuga.
Bhakti Vinod Thakur also says.
Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
All of them.
And we have seen, like in our lives also, we can see our Guru Maharaj, so many other pure devotees we have seen, like Radha Govind Maharaj.
All these, when once we were attending the Vyas Puja of our Guru Maharaj, and there a devotee was sharing that once he went to an astrologer to show, very, brilliant astrologer of India. And he showed the Janam Patri of Guru Maharaj. And he said, just by seeing that who is this personality, even wherever he walks, there are so many demigods who are walking behind him. So, we may see that these people are ordinary too, but, they are all divine. Yeah.
And we understand by seeing them, and that only gives us impetus. Yes, such personalities exist. They are not only mentioned in Gita. We can see a live example, and that only gives us impetus. Yes. And we aspire to become pure devotees in one day.
And then they guide you closely, what we should do, what we should not do, how we should do. So that is where a position and importance of Guru is there, who can help you and hold you.
Mataji, yeah, I have one question.
Yes.
In the purport of 7.14, Prabhupada has mentioned, or maybe he has referred Brahma and Shiva as incarnations of basically, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. However, in the past, we have discussed that they are not in the mode of Rajoguna or Tamoguna, but they are actually taking care of the, mode of passion and the mode of ignorance, basically. So how do we relate this, Prabhuji? I need to understand means where
See,
exactly.
Let's read what Prabhupada is saying. The
Mhm.
words Mam Eva are also significant. Mam means onto Krishna only and not Brahma or Shiva. Although Brahma and Shiva are greatly elevated and are almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnations of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. They are not in Rajoguna or Tamoguna. Please type. There is a difference. See, they are responsible for these. They are not in Rajoguna or Tamoguna, right? They are responsible for these gunas, which is why they are, if you see, they are known as Guna Avtaras, right? You remember that Guna Avtar?
Trimurtis, yeah.
These Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma, they are Guna Avtar. They are acting like they are partial manifestation. They are acting on behalf of Krishna for a particular thing. Not that they are in some mode. They are responsible. They are in charge.
Okay. The word incarnation of, the passion and ignorance, actually, that probably I
Yeah.
misunderstood that. Yeah.
Good you asked. Any other question? Okay, then we'll close the session. Hare Krishna.